We have a prime minister in this country who doesn't want to come to the parliament, who is on a tour to a foreign country when parliament is in session. I was surprised. None of us, nobody raised that topic. There is a strong convention in the country that when parliament is in session, the prime minister should be stationed in Delhi. But the other day I was listening to the All India radio and could access the information that PM is touring Mauritius, such an important country for the world. You all must have watched the way in which the Prime Minister sat with or stood with Donald Trump. Yeah, you saw it. And he was abusing India. It's a dirty country. So much of tariff. Zelensky had the guts to, speak out, but our Prime Minister kept mum. Yeah. Figuring out some of the speeches made by Annadure in Rajya Sabha in 1962. I went to the parliamentary library and just went through some of the very interesting speeches made by Anna. It shouldn't be a coincidence that he had actually predicted what is going to come for this country. If we ask a question in English, they reply in Hindi. Now, that is the most important. And when they are speaking in Hindi, they look at us and they have a twinkle in the eyes. That is more important. What is a twinkle? You people, inverted comma, unless you learn Hindi, you have to keep quiet. This is what Anna spoke. 1962 says, we are all highly, I would say, influential, enlightened. Since now the country is debating over the imposition of a language over us. The words of wisdom by Anna. Now, 99% of the ministers, except for your Nirmala Sitharaman or Jaishankar, they are not very significant for the BJP politics. All of them speak in Hindi. One of the ministers continuously wrote to me in Hindi letters. First one, second one. When I received the third letter in Hindi, I wrote in Malayalam. There stopped. Now you have started writing in English. They have written Samagra Shiksha. What is that? Samagra Shiksha? All these are Sanskrit words. I don't even understand actually. Now they want to start PMC schools. Kerala said, look, in the field of education, we have gone miles ahead of many of these northern states. There is not even a single village where we don't have a school. That was smart classroom. In this budget, Nirmala Sitharaman trumpeted about having internet connection in that classroom. Arey, Kerala mein kya internet connection? All the schools have internet connection. Smart rooms everywhere. Now they are telling us, you have PMC school. If you don't start PMC school, the entire money in Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, we will not release. 849 crores have been withheld. In your case, 2,150 crores. See how the center-state relations are being torpedoed. Germany was gripped by psychic distemper. The translation of psychic distemper is mental illness, which we can see in India also. Mental illness, no scientific temper. You have an IIT here. You have somebody who, I would say that. I spoke in Rajya Sabha. I told Prime Minister, sir, you are the Prime Minister of this country. You are not the High Priest of this country. You don't have the responsibility of giving pran to the gods. We have so many Murugans and Balasubramaniams here. Why should the Prime Minister? Prime Minister was doing the pran pradishta of Ayodhya temple. I said, no, it's not your business. Your business is to give pran to the people. At that time, people were killed in Manipur. Rights after rights. Can you think about an election commission for a violation of code of conduct of the Prime Minister send a notice to the chaprasi of the BJP office? The notice was sent to the chaprasi, BJP office. They didn't have the guts to even serve a notice to the Prime Minister. A election commissioner who had the guts to. Even a college is an institution. I always say that. Even a college is an institution. I remember when I used to be a student of JNU, we had all sorts of discussion, which even used to spill to the wee hours of the day. Till 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, we will discuss about Libya, Lebanon, Iraq. Now you know what is the plight of the JNU? You cannot even invite the ambassador of Palestine for a discourse in JNU. The Department of Education will decide who all should be invited. We used to discuss about anything, everything. Now you can't even serve chicken in JNU during a particular season. During the Holi, you have to cover up the mosque in UP. That is the plight of this country. If this country treads like this, somebody will have to get up in parliament and speak like Anna, we have the right of self-determination. Anna said in Rajya Sabha. With 18% of the population, you contribute 35% of the GDP, southern states. You have 129 seats now in Lok Sabha. Amit Shah tells us that we will retain, it's not the question of retain, the value of the seat, that is important. Percentage-wise, if it is 25%, if South has got 24% representation in Lok Sabha, Will the 24 continue? That is important thing. That's the most important thing. You know what is the number of seating in Lok Sabha now? Anybody has an idea? Sir, 848. I don't know, it should be a numerical number. Amit Shah would be knowing about that. 848. Why did they make 848? They want to convert JNU in 5 years to a citadel of Vedic science. You will have Vedic science too. Because education and culture are very important for BJP. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the past controls the future. That's why the past is being invented, reinvented in a particular fashion. The biggest enemies of this country, you know who are the biggest enemies of this country, sir? Sir, you must be knowing it. Biggest enemy of this country is Aurangzeb, sir. Aurangzeb, Akbar. You see any of the speeches of these ministers? Aurangzeb, poor fellow has died and gone, but he is still the enemy. Now, when Mr. Pandraj was introducing me, he introduced me as a journalist. I don't know whether the profession of journalism exists now. Because when I was speaking in Rajya Sabha, I said that the media has been changed to Modia. The E has been taken out and the O has been put in there. And when we talk of democracy, in the absence of a reasonably free media, there is nothing called free anywhere in the world. If a free media, reasonably free media, is absent in a country, can we call that country a democratic country? That is something we need to debate on. Thiru Jnana Rajashekharan, as far as I understood, he talked about Hitler who was elected through a election. Now people talk about electoral autocracy. Election can also produce autocrats. That's the thing. See, a democratic process can give birth to an autocracy. In fact, a Swedish organization termed India as electoral autocracy. So when we talk about the media, we have so many nations which have got those pillars which our Indian constitution envisage, like executive, like legislature, like judiciary. But because a free media is absent there in most of the Gulf countries, we don't call them as a functional democracy. We call a country a functional democracy only if the fourth pillar is robust enough to be a check and balance for the other pillars. Please understand that. So, analyzing the Indian politics, Indian media scene, if you don't see a free media, independent media, sir, you are a very senior public servant. Can we call this country a functional democracy? It's a question mark, sir. Because I don't want to make a statement, so tomorrow it will become a controversy. John Brittas, member of parliament, comes and speaks in Tamil Nadu saying that India is not a democracy. Then people will say, why the hell you are in Rajya Sabha? You are a member of parliament. So I am only throwing some questions to you. The answer may come from you only. Only because he provoked me by calling me a journalist, I have made this reference. This is a tagline of Washington Post. Very interesting. I didn't want to speak about that since he has actually referred to the inverted comma journalism. I want to underline that. Washington Post was a prominent newspaper in the United States. But like any other newspapers in the world, it has been bought over by Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon. See how big time corporates have taken over the media. But he has retained the tagline there. It's very interesting, which we should understand. democracy dies in darkness. Very meaningful thing. If there is nobody to, shed light, democracy will die. In fact, the concern of all these people who have gathered here, Pondraj said that each one of you represent lakhs of people, so I am addressing lakhs of people here. No, very influential people. Many are in the academics, many are in the service. Many are entrepreneurs. I know many big time corporate heads here also. See, when our architects of the constitution envisaged or conceived the parliamentary democracy, we thought that executive would be held accountable by a legislature. Fair enough, sir? Then we further thought the judiciary would be independent enough to make sure that executive and legislature function properly. Then again we thought that we will have a fourth pillar, not very formal pillar, but informal pillar, media, to be a watchdog of all these pillars. Me being a member of parliament, I am accountable to the people who have elected to me. Since I am Rajya Sabha, I am accountable to the state of Kerala. Because the representatives of the people who are the MLAs, they have elected me. So if the executive is not accountable to me, what is the purpose of this chain of accountability? We have a prime minister in this country who doesn't want to come to the parliament, who is on a tour to a foreign country when parliament is in session. I was surprised. None of us, nobody raised that topic. There is a strong convention in the country that when parliament is in session, the prime minister should be stationed in Delhi. But the other day I was listening to the All India radio and could access the information that PM is touring Mauritius, such an important country for the world. You all must have watched the way in which the Prime Minister sat with or stood with Donald Trump. Yeah, you saw it? And he was abusing India. It's a dirty country. So much of tariff. Zelensky had the guts to, speak out, but our Prime Minister kept mum. Yeah. Now, coming back to this topic, I know Tamil Nadu is on boil like any other southern states because the Damocles sword is hanging on us, delimitation. But I was actually figuring out some of the speeches made by Annadure in Rajya Sabha in 1962. I went to the parliamentary library and just went through some of the very interesting speeches made by Anna. It shouldn't be a coincidence that he had actually predicted what is going to come for this country. I will tell you, I will just quote one small thing which I have said. 1962, while speaking in Rajya Sabha, I just took out the quote because nobody should tell that, you see, I misquoted Anna. That would be a big problem in Tamil Nadu, I know that. My car would be burnt. I won't be in a position to get out of this state. Anna said, see, even those members, that is MPs, who know how to speak in English, they speak in Hindi. Even when we speak, we ask a question in English, they reply in Hindi. Now, that is the most important. And when they are speaking in Hindi, they look at us and they have a twinkle in the eyes. That is more important. What is a twinkle? You people, in inverted comma, unless you learn Hindi, you have to keep quiet. This is what Anna spoke. 1962 says, we are all highly, I would say, influential, enlightened. Since now the country is debating over the imposition of a language over us. The words of wisdom by Anna. I can tell you, as a journalist, I used to be a journalist, I agree with. I covered Indian Parliament, late 80s, that means 1980s, 88 onwards. Please don't count my age by that, okay? I'm quite young now. Most of the ministers had their deliberations in English because South India need to be kept. Most of the MPs who used to come from South India didn't know Hindi. I even remember when Atal Bihari Vajpayee used to speak in Hindi, L.K. Advani used to diligently speak in English to balance that. L.K. Advani. Now, 99% of the ministers, except for your Nirmala Sitharaman or Jaishankar, they are not very significant for the BJP politics. All of them speak in Hindi. While I was coming from the hotel, Mr. Uday Kumar was with me. Then Bala Subramaniam or Bala Murugan, because there are gods are with me always, left and right. Yeah, both are here. Yeah, both are. So I was telling them, one of the ministers continuously wrote to me in Hindi letters. First one, second one. When I received the third letter in Hindi, I wrote in Malayalam. There stopped. Now you have started writing in English. I remember when Mulayam Singh was the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. There is no politics in this so-called Hindi, our language business. When Mulayam Singh was the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, he wrote a letter to my Chief Minister, the then Chief Minister, E.K. Nayanar, in Hindi. Immediately he wrote back in Malayalam. There stopped it. So the business of imposing Hindi is not an innocent act. Trust me. See, even now I said, we had a debate on Department of Education, Rajya Sabha. I was speaking, Dharmendra Pradhan was there. He was looking at us and saying, NEP doesn't say that the third language should be Hindi. Did we say that? No. You can pick up any language. Only if we said it's Hindi, then you can accuse of imposition of Hindi. There were 3 educational policies, you know that. All these national education policies were intended for uniformity. You know what is the uniformity? You need to tread the North Indian line. Nothing else. Not that they are going to learn Malayalam or Tamil. I ask these people, are you teaching Tamil or Malayalam or Kannada or Telugu in any of the schools? In Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar? Nobody. If they intend to have a national integration, let them teach a South Indian language there. No, they will not do it. They will not do it. Another aspect. Initially, when they triggered this new education policy, they had specifically mentioned about Hindi as a language to be taught. Only when there was an uproar, they removed the Hindi and said any language. So their intention was very clear what they intended. There is an ideological premise for this, I am telling you. It's not a political issue, but I am telling you an ideological issue. What is the ideological issue? One leader, one ideology, one religion, one language. The pattern is very clear. Indian Constitution underlines on the aspect of diversity. Even on the center-state relations, federalism, since federalism is very important. I will just quote Dr. Ambedkar. He made it a point that the union is not a league of states, nor are the states agencies of union. Both the union and the states are created by the Constitution. Both derive their respective authority from the Constitution. State is not subservient to union. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar emphatically stated. Now I was going through the developments in Indian politics during the last few decades. As a student of political science, even when I was doing a research in JNU, because I was a student of JNU, every government, with an exception of maybe some coalition governments, there were orchestrated moves to take out subjects after subjects from the state list. BJP always speaks about emergency, the dark chapter of Indian politics. Rightly so. I believe that. It's a dark chapter. Even Congress admits so. It's a dark chapter. The byproduct of emergency, what was that? 42nd Amendment. That was amendment through which education was taken out of the state list. So I was telling Dharmendra Pradhan, if you're very sincere and honest with regard to your opposition to emergency, return. Give back education to the states. Now there is an impression, I will tell you. My friend Jnana Rajeshekaran was saying that subjects after subjects are being taken out of the state list and put in concurrent list. Sir, even if it is in state list, they legislate. Even if it is in, isn't it a fact that health is in state list? They are doing everything. What is NEET? What is Ayushman Arogya Mandir? You know, anybody know, madam, you know what is Ayushman Arogya Mandir? What is that, ma'am? Theriyadu? Theriyadu? You know what is it? I'll tell you. The coercive centralism. One example I am quoting you. I feel that Jnana Rajeshekaran is a Malayali more than a Tamilian. Right? Please ask him. He told me privately that I am more of a Malayali than I am Tamil. I don't know whether he will say now or not. Sir, you are a Malayali. Professor Karnanandan told me, please don't tell me as a Malayali, they would not like it. You all accept the fact that Kerala is miles ahead of many of the North Indian states in the field of education, health, madam? Know that. 50 years back, 60 years back, 70 years back, we had primary health centers. PHC, we call it. Every village has got a PHC. You come to Kerala, anywhere, any remote, there is no remote village in Kerala for that matter. You have a PHC. You have a doctor, qualified doctor, nurses, everybody. This was the PHC, which Kejriwal took out from Kerala and done with Mohalla Clinic in capital city when he came to power. Remember, the capital had to wait 50, 60 years to have a primary health center. Whereas I told Kejriwal ji, we had it 70 years back in Kerala. Now you are starting in capital city. A Mohalla clinic. Okay, fine, perfect. Now in the health, you know what they do? They give us some money. Central government will give us some money. That is National Health Mission. Earlier it was NRH, National Rural Health Mission. Now it has been changed as NHM. So they give us some money. They don't give you properly. You have to pursue, pressurize, then they will give you 10%, 15% like that. Now they are telling us, you change the color of the primary health center. Change it. You name the primary health center as Ayushman Health Mandir. What is this Mandir business? I don't know. This country has been destroyed by this Mandir mosque business already. See, for 2-3 years, the central assistance was withheld. Madam, you will agree that not only in the field of health, in the field of education, we are miles ahead. You can speak anything bad about Malayali, but don't tell that he is illiterate. You can say that he is highly literate. Right? Am I correct? You are a Malayali. He has some grudges against Malayali. I can read from his face. Now you know that they have brought in Samagra Shiksha. What is that? Samagra Shiksha? All these are Sanskrit words. I don't even understand actually. Now they want to start PMC schools. PMC. Kerala said, look, in the field of education, we have gone miles ahead of many of these northern states. There is not even a single village where we don't have a school. That was smart classroom. In this budget, Nirmala Sitharaman trumpeted about having internet connection in the classroom. Arey, Kerala mein kya internet connection? All the schools have internet connection. Smart rooms everywhere. Now they are telling us, you have PMC school. If you don't start PMC school, the entire money in Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, we will not release. 849 crores have been withheld. In your case, 2,150 crores. See how the center-state relations are being torpedoed. And I told these people, Bihar, nothing against Bihar. Bihar, UP, Orissa, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, all these Bimaru states. We call it Bimaru. I don't know. You don't know what is Bimaru. Anybody know what is Bimar? Eh? Why are you speaking Hindi? You are against Hindi. Bimaru state. That is, Bimar is sick. These states will show us how we should go. How we should travel, how we should tread in the field of health, education, they will tell us. Where all we have reached actually. Madam, I will ask you, you know what, I was a member, I am a member of parliament, so these 3 bills would have been actually passed by us. I don't know what is the name of these 3 bills. Sir, he is from Chennai. He is an entrepreneur. Your enterprise must be having a lot of litigation and cases, sir. You know the names of new bills, new criminal bills 3, you know, sir? IPC, Evidence Act, CRPC, you know that? Eh? You only know this. That has changed, sir. Now new bills have come. I am not surprised. Even a judge of the Madras High Court said that I don't know what the names of these people. If a judge doesn't know about the names of the new criminal bills, and think about it. 147 MPs were suspended from Parliament. I was also suspended. And these three crucial bills were passed without any debate. So that's what I'm saying. The sad plight of the pillars of democracy. Legislature. Earlier, 72% of the bills used to go to standing committee. You know, we are all part of a standing committee. The MPs would be divided into different groups. I am part of the external affairs standing committee. Earlier, I used to be a committee in IT standing committee. Telecom bill, digital data protection bill, all this will have far-reaching implications in your life, your privacy, how the state can invade you. None of the bills were vetted or debated in the standing committee. As I was trying to say, 70% of the bills used to go to standing committee. Now not even 17% of the bill goes to the standing committee. This is the plight of vetting the bills. So, think about these three criminal bills which have got far-reaching implications in your life, coming generations. These bills were passed even without a debate in the parliament. Now, nobody knows these Sanskrit names. You know that there is a design for giving the Sanskrit names to it. You just look the expenditure budget, you will see 600 crores, 700 crores spent on Sanskrit. How many people are speaking Sanskrit? I looked at the 2011 census, 22,000 people. In this country, you have 140 crore. Still you want Sanskrit. Now, coming back to the institutions. Trust me, if democracy needs to sustain, as I told you, a free press is required. I will come to that Supreme Court, sir. This is the Supreme Court which blinked when the petition was there, questioning the division of Jammu and Kashmir on a fine day, converting a state to union territory. Article 3 of the Indian Constitution was misused. We all said, if that is permitted tomorrow by an executive order, Tamil Nadu can be converted as a union territory. You wait for that, I am telling you. So somebody was telling me why these people want to converge on a Saturday evening here. Trust me, sir, unless we get into this country will go to dogs. My friend talked about Hitler. I was reading a very beautiful interview given by Albert Einstein to New York Times. This has relevance. I am only picking up what my friend Rajasekharan said. Albert Einstein said, he escaped from Germany when Hitler was on his ascent. He said, the civil society, the academic community, they caved in just because they couldn't discharge their responsibility. Germany was gripped by psychic distemper. The translation of psychic distemper is mental illness, which we can see in India also. Mental illness. No scientific temper. You have an IIT here. You have somebody who, I won't say that. I spoke in Rajya Sabha. I told Prime Minister, sir, you are the Prime Minister of this country. You are not the high priest of this country. You don't have the responsibility of giving pran to the gods. We have so many Murugans and Balasubramanians here. Why should the Prime Minister go? Prime Minister was doing the pran pradishta of Ayodhya temple. I said, no, it's not your business. Your business is to give pran to the people. Save the pran of the people. At that time, people were killed in Manipur. Rights after rights. See how the country has been upended. And madam, you talked about judiciary. This is the same judiciary which underlined on this misuse of Article 3, thereby endorsing the decision of the executive, converting a state to a union territory. Now you know that a particular party is trying to wrest some control in Tamil Nadu. Suppose if they feel that they cannot have a foothold in Tamil Nadu, what if they misuse it and convert it as another glorified Pondicherry and give to you? What will happen to you? So my trust in judiciary, I still want to trust, but I feel that the overall erosion of the institutions, including judiciary, is making me a little skeptic. I talked about the Parliamentary Standing Committee. Let me ask you one question. He's a bureaucrat, ex-bureaucrat. Any year, India had 40-50 CAG reports. The Indian politics drastically changed because of a CAG report on 2G scam. You remember that? Do you now hear about any CAG report, ma'am? Nobody hears about any CAG report. What has happened to Comptroller and Auditor General? Where has the institution gone? See, you and me are not even talking about that. You and me are not talking about that. Now again, Election Commission. The Supreme Court, thanks to Justice K.M. Joseph, they brought out an verdict saying that the Election Commission, because Election Commission is how it is important. Because the basic foundation of the democracy rests on Election Commission. Basic foundation. If you want to have a transparent election, you need to have a transparent organization, a solid organization with impeccable credentials. If the organization which is to conduct a transparent, free and fair elections is not transparent enough, how can the system go? The Supreme Court rightly said that the election commissioners be decided by, say, Supreme Court, Prime Minister, opposition leader. Abhi kya kar diya? They tweaked it. 2:1 kar diya. Prime Minister, Amit Shah, opposition leader. What will the opposition leader do? See, has the Supreme Court entertained that? There is a case pending with the Supreme Court. Why are they delaying it? So I feel that, you know what has happened with regard to the Ayodhya verdict. I don't want to question it, but when a judge says that his revelation coming from the Almighty is more important than the Constitution on which he has sworn, there is something fundamentally wrong in this country. Fundamentally wrong. And especially when the deity is part of the case. Deity also was part of the case. So, when we talk in terms of judiciary, as you want, we all want the judiciary to be a torch bearer as a custodian of the Indian Constitution. But many of this sordid drama that has happened is making me a little skeptical. Election Commission, can you think about an election commission for a violation of code of conduct of the Prime Minister sent a notice to the chaprasi of the BJP office. The notice was sent to the chaprasi. BJP of. They didn't have the guts to even serve a notice to the Prime Minister. A election commissioner who had the guts to question the impropriety of the Prime Minister was ejected out of the system, Ashok Lavasa. He was raided left and right, his wife, children, everyone. The poor guy had to resign and go. Leave the country. See the plight of the institutions. Even a college is an institution. I always say that. Even a college is an institution. I remember when I used to be a student of JNU, we had all sorts of discussion, which even used to spill to the wee hours of the day. Till 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, we will discuss about Libya, Lebanon, Iraq. Now you know what is the plight of the JNU? You cannot even invite the ambassador of Palestine for a discourse in JNU. The Department of Education will decide who all should be invited. We used to discuss about anything, everything. Now you can't even serve chicken in JNU during a particular season. During the Holi, you have to cover up the mosque in UP. That is the plight of this country. I was telling these people one good thing about digging. Now you know what the pastime of this country is digging. You dig everywhere. Digging. Digging in Sambal, digging in Varanasi, digging in Madura. You dig anywhere. But there is a positive aspect to the digging also. You know, to put the rupee in rust, you need to dig further. The rupee is going down and down. So at least, unless you dig it, you can't keep the rupee safe now. But we should understand that. How long you are going to dig? How long you are going to dig? In Kerala, I'll tell you, many of the studies have proven that Shabarimala, you all know Shabarimala is very prominent. It used to be a Buddha Vihar, Buddhist Vihar. Many of the places of worship would have been converted either way, here or there. Undoubtedly, I am telling you. So if you are going to, go to the past, how long will you go? How long will you go? So see how the social health of this country has completely eroded. Now we talk about federalism. Let me just tell you another aspect. If this country treads like this, somebody will have to get up in parliament and speak like Anna, we have the right of self-determination. Anna said in Rajya Sabha. With 18% of the population, you contribute 35% of the GDP, southern states. 18% of the population, you contribute 35%. You have 129 seats now in Lok Sabha. Amit Shah tells us that we will retain, it's not the question of retain, the value of the seat, that is important. Percentage wise, if it is 25%, if South has got 24% representation in Lok Sabha, will that 24 continue? That is important thing. That's the most important thing. You know what is the number of seating in Lok Sabha now? Anybody has an idea? Sir, 848. I don't know, it should be a numerical number. Amit Shah would be knowing about that. 848. Why did they make 848? They have all Indianized parliament now. You have a structure, but the process has been gone to the bed. They brought in these 3 criminal bills that I was asking somebody, If you don't want to have any colonial influence, stop cricket here. Jay Shah will be jobless. That's another thing that I don't know. All these are all influences. This country has given and taken also. Even the cuisine, costume, whatnot, everything has been taken, shared. Now this delimitation issue, I will tell you. That is the real threat which is going to happen. No, they were saying that the basic premise of a democracy, each vote should have equal value. Perfect. Can you think of a country where 20 crores of people do not have a representation in the government? Now think about the representation of the South in the executive now. So you want representation there at the level, but at the government level you don't have a representation. How are you going to justify that? Count the number of cabinet ministers from the South in Indian government. How many are they? How many are from UP? How many are from Gujarat? So, for a legislature, you want a n number of representation. For an executive, you don't want. How is that possible? First government of Nehru was a model government. From south, north, east, west, everywhere. All religions were represented. Hindu, Parsi, Sikh, Christian, from backward caste, from Dalits, Ambedkar, everybody was there. Do you have a representative government at the center now? Absolutely. Absolutely. So, when you talk in terms of delimitation to give so-called equal value to the citizen, we should also talk in terms of the representation of different sections in the executive. As somebody was saying that the backwards have more representation. You know where? In Tihar jail. 80% of the people who are in Tihar jail are backwards and Dalits and minorities. That's the only place where you have more and more over representation. So this is the plight of the country. And I don't think you need to have a coercive. It's not a coercive alone. It's not coercive actually. It's much more than that. What are these governors doing? Could you envisage when our constitutional makers debated on a post like governor, could anybody have thought about a person called N. Ravi, R. N. Ravi, or Arif Muhammad Khan? The mandate of the people, it's being completely scuttled. The bills are being piled up in Raj Bhavan. Sir, it's UGC guideline, I'll tell you. Another example of coercive centralism. You know what is the real intention of this UGC guide? It's not UGC guideline. You know what is the name of the UGC? It's not UGC regulation. They have even put that, earlier it used to be guidelines, now it is regulation. That means they want to regulate it. I wrote a piece in Indian Express, Delhi, saying that there is something called repugnancy. Anybody who knows the law must be knowing that. Suppose on a concurrent topic of the concurrent list, if state pass a law and the center pass a law, if there is a little clash, repugnancy, the central law will prevail over. Right? Am I correct, sir? Correct. Perfect. All are lawyers. You all know that. But you know what they have done it? Madam, with the help of the Supreme Court, they have done it. You know how? It's not only between the central law and the state law. Suppose the central law passed, the parliament passed a central law and set up UGC. Perfect. If the UGC gives an order that supersedes a law of a state. How is that possible? Repugnancy should be between the central legislation and the state legislation. Just because there is an organization at the central level which has been instituted by a central act, whatever orders they issue cannot override a state legislation. In this case of UGC, they have precisely done that. 1074 universities in this country. Only 54 universities are central universities. Only 54. There could be some few private universities. You know what they have done? With this clever ploy of regulation, these 1,000+ universities, which have been set up by the sweat and blood of the states, your money and my money, they want to take over it. See, they want to completely take over it. So it's not as simple as that. There's not even a area where the center is not invading into. I told you, even health, which is supposed to be the state list, every nook and corner you can see the penetration, invasion by the center. JNU had 140 vacancies, professors, teachers vacancies. No, 300 vacancies, they filled up 140. I came to know that all 140 are from a particular ideology. They want to convert JNU in 5 years to a citadel of Vedic science. You will have Vedic science too. Because education and culture are very important for BJP. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the past controls the future. That's why the past is being invented, reinvented in a particular fashion. The biggest enemies of this country, you know who are the biggest enemies of this country, sir? Sir, you must be knowing it. Eh? Sir? No. Biggest enemy of this country is Aurangzeb, sir. Aurangzeb, Akbar. You see any of the speeches of these ministers? Aurangzeb. Poor fellow has died and gone, but he is still the enemy. He is still the enemy. But we should understand that the 50% of the ministers in Aurangzeb court were Hindus. He was supposed to be a rabid communalist, inverted comma, supposed to be being painted as an anti-Hindu, but 50%, more than 50% of the ministers in his court were Hindus. Do you have a Muslim in the court of Modi, sir, now? Can you show me a Muslim in the court of Modi? Nobody is there. So who is the biggest Aurangzeb? You have to count it now. So this is a time when I feel that, as Albert Einstein said, the civil society has a role to play. And I congratulate the organizers. IDRM is a new organization, but all right thinking people. You may have indifference in your perception, perspective. You belong to different solution is this. It's one of the solutions. No? You and me are here. That is a solution actually. That is what Einstein said when this so-called psychic distemper was being spread. All the professors used to sit in the home and have cognac. If they had come out of their houses, held the hands of the students, told them, you are a force, you can change, you can resist this onslaught, things should have been different. And I feel that IDRM is an initiative We should be strengthened, and this is the way in which, ma'am, we need to deliberate, we need to contemplate, we need to tread our way. Only then this so-called onslaught on our existence, our culture, our language, our prerogatives can be protected. And while I concluding, let me just tell you one thing. The unity of this country can be protected by 3 ingredients. Only 3 ingredients. Without this, the unity of the country cannot be protected. First is democracy. Second is federalism. Third is secularism. Unless you have these 3 prerequisites, the unity of this country cannot be protected. Let us have this thought in our mind, and salute you all. Thank you very much for patiently listening to me.